Hi everyone. Today's topic is disorders associated with extracellular matrix. So there are some disorders associated with the extracellular matrix. The extracellular matrix have been found to be involved in the normal as well as the pathological process. Normal one is the for the development, and the abnormal or the pathological process are for the inflammatory state and the spread of cancers, and they are also found to be involved in rheumatoid arthritis and also osteoarthritis. So we'll pass on to the disorders associated with the extracellular matrix proper. Mutations of the gene that is responsible for the production of collagen. There are some disorders. Main thing is the osteogenesis imperfecta, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and epidermolysis imperfecta. These are the some important disorders where there is mutation of the gene responsible for the production of collagen. Then Marfan syndrome is another disorder where the mutation is in the gene coding for the fibrillin. And mucopolysaccharidosis, we have already discussed, it is due to the deficiency of the enzymes degrading the proteoglycans. Now we will pass on to the disorders associated with the collagen formation. The first important one is the osteogenesis imperfecta. It is also called brittle bone syndrome. The important genetic defect is the multiple genetic defects in the synthesis of type 1 collagen. So many of the mutations are of single base substitution that replaces glycine in the repeated sequence by another bulkier amino acids like cysteine, thus preventing the correct folding of the triple helix collagen. So instead of glycine in this triple helix, alpha helix formation, there is a cysteine. Cysteine is present. So the fibrillar array cannot be formed, results in the brittle bone. So here you can see it is a inherited dominant trait, a mutation which results in the replacement of a single glycine residue by the cysteine in type 1 collagen. There are over 100 different types of mutation in the gene, and this change disrupts the triple helix near the carboxy terminals. So polypeptide become excessively glycosylated and hydroxylated. So the unfolding of the helix takes place, and then the fibrillar array cannot be formed. So that is the main cause for the brittle bone. The clinical features are fragile bone, thin skin, abnormal teeth, and weak tendons. Abnormally thin and translucent sclera appears blue in color due to the deficiency of the connective tissue. So there will be fragile, bone will be fragile, skin will be thin, and then abnormal teeth and weak tendons also will be there. The next important disorder is the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and formerly known as cutis hyperelastica. It's a group of inherited disorders of connective tissue collagen that is caused by a genetic defects in the protein involved in the synthesis and the assembly to form the collagen type 1, type 3 and type 5 due to the defective lysyl oxidase or due to the defective lysyl hydroxylase. So there will be defective cross-linking as well as the formation of collagen fibers also will be affected. The clinical features are hyperextensibility of the skin, increased joint mobility and the abnormal tissue fragility. These are the clinical features. Epidermolysis bullosa is another rare disorder due to the mutation of the gene encoding collagen. It is characterized by the skin breaks and blistering of the skin and the epithelial tissue. There are three types of epidermolysis bullosa. That is, first one is the dystrophic form, where the mutation of the gene coding type 7 collagen is occurring, which anchor the basal lamina to the collagen fibrils in the dermis. Then the junctional forms were the defect in the laminin which leads to blistering in the dermal and epidermal junction. Dermal epidermal junction, there will be blistering. Then the third variety is the simplex form. The mutation is in the keratin filaments which results in the blistering in the epidermis. So junctional forms and the simplex forms are due to laminin and keratin. Now there are some other disorders also associated with this collagen, that is proper formation of collagen. And one important disorder is the Menkes disease. You have studied Menkes disease in copper metabolism. So it is due to the deficiency of copper, and so there is defective function of lysyl oxidase. So there is reduced cross-linking of the collagen. Then due to the deficiency of ascorbic acid, there is defective hydroxylation of collagen. So weak collagen is formed. So the fragile blood vessels and the poor wound healing. So there will be bleeding, gums and all in this case where the ascorbic acid is deficient. So main cause is the defective hydroxylation of the collagen. So collagen formed will be of weak type, so there will be fragile blood vessels. Then there is homocystinuria. So here the accumulated homocysteine reacts with the lysyl aldehyde and block the cross-linking, and that produces skeletal deformities, vascular and ocular defect. So here you have studied homocystinuria. There will be accumulation of homocysteine in the blood. This will react with the lysyl aldehyde to block the cross-linking. Then laterism, that is due to the ingestion of toxic substance Lathira sativa. The toxic substance is mainly the beta oxalyl aminoalanine present in the Lathira sativa or sweet pea. This compound inhibit the lysyl oxidase, so it will interfere with the formation of lysyl cross-linking. So here again the cross-linking is affected. Now we'll pass on to the structure and functions of elastin. Elastin occurs with the collagen in the extracellular matrix. It is a rubber-like protein, stretches to several times their length, returns to the original size and shape when the tension is released. So it's a just like elastic structure. Seen in lungs, blood vessels, ligaments, etc. And small amounts are seen in the skin, ear cartilage and other tissues like urinary bladder. Elastin is an extracellular matrix protein, provides the recoil to the tissues that undergoes repeated stretching. That is, they are tightly associated with the collagen fibers. So that is how they are used for the recoiling of the tissues. The major components of the elastic fibers are they are found in the lungs, ligaments and walls of the blood vessels, mainly aorta, small amount in the skin, ear, cartilage and bladder. Glycine is 1/3 of amino acid, and proline and alanine also seen in large amount. Here also glycine is seen plenty. Small amount of hydroxyproline also is present. Hydroxylysine and the glycosylation is absent in this elastin. So there is no hydroxylysine and there is no glycosylation. Mature elastin is very stable. The turnover rate is very low. Then there is a condition known as pseudoxanthoma elasticum. It is an inherited defect in the formation of elastin. The clinical features are all same as the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So here you can see the elastin fibers. When it is relaxed, it will be like this, and when it is stretched, the elastic fibers will be like this. Basic subunits of elastin is tropoelastin, consisting of 800 amino acids. No repeated units of glycine, proline, hydroxyproline, etc. have glycine and proline in high amount. It contains alanine, it's a non-polar amino acid, valine, leucine and isoleucine. So the crosslinks of elastin, that is by forming desmosine. Here not in the collagen it is not like this. Here the crosslinks are formed by forming desmosine. It is derived by the condensation of 3 L-lysine with 1 lysine. So first one lysine is converted to L-lysine and then the 3 L-lysine combines with one more lysine to form the desmosine. So there requires 4 lysine for the formation of desmosine. Crosslinks permit elastin to stretch into two-dimensional. Next important protein is the keratin. It is present in hair, skin, horn and hoof and consists of a matrix keratohyalin and the fiber alpha keratin. So it consists of alpha keratin fiber and the matrix which is known as keratohyalin. Fibril has 3 polypeptide chain, just 10 to 12 fibers forms one bundle. Keratohyalin matrix contains cysteine-rich polypeptide held together by the disulfide bonds. So more the disulfide bond, harder the keratin. So it is rich in cysteine, so it can form disulfide bonds. Whenever there is more disulfide bond, the keratin will be more harder. And it is seen in hair and gives the mechanical strength to the hair. Disruption of these bonds increases solubility and decreases the tensile strength and occurs and so that is the cause for it occurs in artificial waving of the hair. So if you disrupt these bonds, it will increase the solubility and decrease the tensile strength of the hair, and that is the thing happening in the artificial waving of hair. Now fibrillin. Large non-sulfated glycoprotein secreted by the extracellular fibroblast. It is seen in lens, periosteum, arterial bond. Forms part of insoluble microfibril which acts as a scaffold upon which the elastic fibers are deposited. So it is acting as a scaffold upon which elastic fibers are seen. So the genetic defect is Marfan syndrome due to the mutation of the gene coding fibrillin. So this is the picture where you can see the Marfan syndrome, peculiar features of Marfan. Tall, patient will be tall with the length of the arm and feet will be more, and then hyperextensibility, etc. Now we'll see what are the features of Marfan syndrome. Fibrillin is a glycoprotein of 350 kDa. It is a component of microfibril which forms a substratum for the deposition of elastin. So fibrillin and elastin deposition is reduced in Marfan's syndrome because there is a defect in gene coding the fibrillin type 1. So here it is an autosomal dominant inheritance defect in the gene encoding for the fibrillin 1A glycoprotein, and fibrillin is a component of microfibrils which gives substratum for deposition of elastin. Deposition of fibrillin and elastin becomes slow and which leads to the symptoms. So once the deposition of fibrillin and elastin becomes very less, then that will lead on to the symptoms of arachnodactyly, that is long digits, ectopia lentis, that means dislocation of the lens, and then there will be hyperextension of the joints and aortic aneurysm, dilatation of the aorta, that is the aortic aneurysm. Now fibronectin. It's a high molecular weight glycoprotein attached to the cell membrane spanning the receptors in integrin. It cross-links and stabilizes other components of the extracellular matrix. So its function is mainly to stabilize the other components of the extracellular matrix by cross-links. So it helping to attach the other components of ECM. Enhances the cell adhesion to other extracellular matrix like collagen, fibrillin and heparin sulfate, etc. And it helps in clotting, that is cross-links the platelet together using the membrane-bound heparin. So fibronectin is important for clotting also. So here you can see the fibronectin. On one side, fibronectin is attached to the proteins in the plasma membrane, and on the other side, the fibronectin is attached to the glycoproteins of the extracellular matrix. So the cells are attached to the extracellular matrix by another glycoprotein known as the fibronectin. So here it will attach the plasma membrane to the other type of extracellular matrix. During cell movement, uh, pathways of fibronectin guide the cell to the destination. So that is one important function, that is especially in the embryogenesis. So they will guide the cells to their destination. Second important is the soluble plasma fibronectin promotes the blood clotting by direct binding of fibrin. Then fibronectin guides immune cells to the wounded areas and thus promote wound healing. So these are the important functions of this fibronectin. So first it will help in the cell movement, and second it is promotes blood clotting by direct binding of the fibrin, and then third one is it guides the immune cells to the wounded areas and thus promotes the wound healing. Now we'll see what is laminin. Laminin binds the cells to the basal lamina of the epithelial cells of extracellular matrix and their surrounding muscles, fat cells and the Schwann cells. So it binds the cells to the basal lamina of epithelial cells of extracellular matrix and their surrounding muscle cells, fat cells and Schwann cells. The basal lamina serves as a structural support to the tissues and a permeability barrier in regulating both cells and molecules. So here what is the action of basal lamina? It serves as a structural support to the tissue as well as a permeability barrier in regulating both cells and molecules. So here you can see the basal lamina, and it binds the basal laminins binds the cells of the basal lamina of epithelial cells of the connective tissue and to their surrounding muscles and fat cells, etc. And so it will be helpful for the binding of this to the cells. So it is a very large protein comprised of three proteins that form a cross. The shape is just like a cross, that is cruciform shape. The domains of laminin bind type 4 collagen, heparin sulfate, entactin and the laminin receptor proteins in overlying cells to allow the bridging between the cells and the extracellular matrix. So you can see various domains where they are binding with cell surface receptors, and then collagen for type 4 collagen and heparin sulfate, etc. There are so many domains for this laminin. It comprises of three proteins, alpha, beta and gamma chains. Progeria is a disorder where the early onset of aging is seen, is possibly due to the defect in the laminin. So early onset of aging may be due to the defective laminin. Now we'll pass on to the muscle proteins. So regarding muscle proteins, we have studied in details in physiology, but we are just passing through this. Sarcomere is the functional unit of muscles. Each muscle cell contains myofibrils. The functional unit of myofibril is the sarcomere. Dark A band and the light I band alternate regularly. These bands are formed by the combination of filaments. Thick filaments myosin and thin filaments actin, tropomyosin and troponin. Then what are myosin, actin and troponins? Thick and thin filaments slide past each other during the contraction. Muscle shortens by a third of its original length. So they are thick and thin filaments slide past. So the muscle shortens by the third of its original length. No change in the length of the filaments. Actually, there is no change in the length of the muscle filament. Myosin contains 6 polypeptide chains, 2 identical heavy chains and 4 light chains. Actin is the major protein in the thin filament and is a monomeric protein often known as G-actin. Muscle contraction results from interaction of actin and myosin to form the actomyosin using ATP as the energy. Regarding that, you studied in details. Now what are troponins? Troponins also, this muscle contraction modulated by troponin and tropomyosin through calcium, physiological regulator of the muscle contraction. So troponin, there are 3 types: troponin C, troponin I and troponin T. They forms the 3 different polypeptide troponins. Troponin C binds the calcium. Troponin I, actomyosin ATPase inhibitory element, binds to the actin and inhibits the binding of actin to myosin. And it is a marker of myocardial infarction. I have studied markers of myocardial infarction, cardiac markers, that is troponin I. Troponin T binds to the tropomyosin. It is again of 2 types. 2 isoforms are there, troponin T1 and T2, present in the cardiac tissue. Troponin T2 level is 100% sensitive index in the myocardial infarction. Now what is Duchenne muscular dystrophy? Dystrophin is a structural protein attached to the muscle cell membrane. It links to the actin of the cell into the extracellular matrix. The cause for the disease is mutation in the dystrophin gene. The mutation in the gene is glycosyl transferase enzyme. Also leads to some of the types of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. The major cause is the mutation of dystrophin gene. Sometimes glycosyl transferase enzyme mutation also may produce DMD. The absence of dystrophin allows excess calcium to penetrate into the cell membrane. The calcium causes entry of water also into the mitochondria, which then burst. That is happening in this condition. Now what are the clinical features? Muscle weakness starts by 4 years and worsens quickly. Usually starts in upper part of the leg, pelvis and then upper arms, and unable to stand up. Most are unable to walk by 12 years. Affected muscles look larger due to the increased fat. So even though the muscle is not functioning properly, they will look larger due to the increased amount of fat. Females are only carriers. No cure for the disease, and usually they die by the age of 25. The treatment is only symptomatic. Another disorder is the Love syndrome, characterized by hypermetabolism, heat intolerance, profuse perspiration, polyphagia, polydipsia, but no polyuria. Then muscle wasting, weakness and resting tachycardia. These are all the symptoms of the Love syndrome. Cause is the mitochondrial abnormality. Weight loss even after increased intake of food is seen in this condition. Here the thyroid functions are normal, and due to uncoupling of the mitochondrial respiration. This is the cause for the excessive heat production, profuse sweating, polyphagia, etc. uncoupling of mitochondrial respiration, and reduce synthesis of ATP. Instead, there is heat production. So, uncoupling of oxidative phosphorylation occurs so that there is no production of ATP. Instead, that is converted to heat and heat is generated. Another condition is the malignant hyperthermia. Halothane succinylcholine are used as an anesthetics, will cause high fever usually. And then so the calcium channel opens, increase in cytosolic calcium also occurs. The treatment is to decrease the release of calcium from the sarcoplasmic reticulum to the cytosol. So usually when anesthetic agents like halothane succinylcholine are used, they will cause high fever because the calcium channel opens and increase the cytosolic calcium. So the drug of choice is dantrolene, where it inhibits the release of calcium, so that it will decrease the calcium release.